What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast. I'm Coach Ken from Giving It a Try. We have a nice special episode here. It is fall in the Northeast, and it is right smack in the middle of marathon season. For the coached athletes, we had an athlete complete Wine Glass Marathon. We actually just had an athlete just cross the finish line at Chicago as I'm recording this. And we have Marine Corps, which is up in the fence right now, obviously with the government shutdown, that athlete's trying to figure out what they want to do with their marathon. And then we also have a handful of athletes running the New York City Marathon. So this is going to come in a timely fashion for them. And then this is something that's just going to live here in the abyss of the internet and the podcast that I have for next marathon season, where I can bring this up, post it out there again, put it out there. But we're deep in it right now, and I'm just getting so many questions. So I kind of laid this out right here on how we can master the marathon, the final weeks of prep. Most of you are basically peaked up, have done the long runs, but now there's a lot of questions from now till race day on how to line up that training, how to mentally get ready for this race, to trust your training, and come up with that pace plan for your marathon. So we're going to dive into it here, and we're just going to break it down. I just first want to welcome everybody back. Thanks for tuning in. Again, you'll start to see more of this long form content stuff come up as we hit the off season, and we have a bunch of awesome topics to come up and guests that we want to speak with, other athletes and maybe coaches out there that want to get on here and just talk about the year, talk about what's coming up, and talking about everything endurance related. So let's really put this out there. Let's put this out. We really want to emphasize these final weeks. They are very important. You must trust your training. We need to sharpen the body. Now that we've basically layered on all this fatigue over the last 16 to 20 weeks plus for your training. Want to build this mental resiliency going into race day. And then we also just want to talk about the unique demands of the marathon and why it is an interesting and tricky distance going at that. Let's talk real quick. A rewind. I know something I was looking up. I'm like, I want to put it out there. Like, how many people know kind of how this 26.2 miles came about? So if we research the marathon distance and we go way back when, the first distance of it was about 25 miles or so. And that's based off of a legendary Greek soldier that ran from Marathon to Athens. And that's why they called it the marathon. I think he was like spreading the news of their victory. And I think the story goes he unfortunately dropped at the end of that 25 miles. So they were called that the marathon, that distance, that 25 miles. That was the first distance there of the modern Olympic marathon, which was in 1896. And then it was changed to 26 miles and 385 yards, 26.2 miles. In 1908, because it was extended from Windsor Castle to the finish at the Olympic Stadium in London, that's where the royal family wanted to view it, and it was 26.2 miles, so that changed the official distance, and that right there has been standardized since 1921. But that's cool, because you can, like, think about the marathon now. Like, I have a whole new appreciation for it, because it's like, consider the 26.2 miles your victory lap, from going to the start line to the finish line. You did all the training up to that point. So while you're out there, envision yourself, as that Greek soldier running through the miles, like needing to get to the finish line to spread this victory and get that medal and get to show everybody the victory, get to show everybody the hard work that you put in, that victory lap on race day. Just kind of envision yourself on that trail out there, getting that done and just kind of going forward towards the finish line and making it really something personal, an accomplishment for you based on all the hard work that you did. This 26.2 miles is really a test of endurance of just different magnitude on different levels, because even if you're a good marathoner, let's talk a good age group marathoner that can run somewhere down below 3:30 or 3:15, up to somebody who's a more novice or intermediate, and they're at the 4 hour mark, 4:30s, 5 hour plus, wherever it is in there. It's a long event. So it's kind of tricky for the body to perform at such a high level for that period of time. You're talking about glycogen depletion, why that quote unquote hitting the wall at mile 20. That's typically because you're not properly fueled enough, or you didn't fuel enough in training for your body to adapt to be able to take in all that. Or it could be a muscular fatigue endurance, depending on how your training went, depending how we were able, like, did you get up to those long runs? Were we able to complete the multiple long runs that you were supposed to do? So did you build that muscular fatigue as opposed to your aerobic fitness? So it's just again, most people can run and train for a solid 20 miles. It's all those little things in training and all those other outside factors that will pull you from that mile 20 mark, that mental, line right there to the finish line nice and strong. There has to be all those layers in place and all those smart decisions up to mile 20 to be able to complete it at the 26.2 mile mark and not fall off somewhere in there. And it's also a need for precise pacing. This distance, if you go out too hard and your heart rate gets up too high into a zone, you're going to build way too much lactate. Your body's not going to be able to clear it. Your legs are going to get heavy. Your muscles are going to break down. And then inevitably, you're going to go down the slide on the other end and just try and hold on for dear life. So properly pacing this, and pacing is very important for my coached athletes. I have an entire talk on pacing, mastering the art of pacing. It's a private talk that I have just specifically for the coached athletes in the group. And they will have some homework to do in the next few weeks to watch that video again, because it is very, very important. So I'm not going to get into the nuances of pacing for a marathon. We're going to get into some of the other aspects leading into a marathon. And we'll just kind of touch on one piece of the pacing right here, just to give you an idea of how we should be running this. So what's happening now? You've maybe gotten to your long runs, you're just about done, or you have it this weekend, and then what's going on now? You're likely 2 to 3 weeks from race day at this point. You're probably really excited. You might have a little bit of doubt. You're starting to envision the taper coming in. If you know how you act during taper, you may get the taper crazies. That's going to be a little restlessness from the reduced mileage, maybe not having to wake up so early in the morning. It's going to throw a little wrench in your process that you've been doing for the last 3-4+ months of this marathon prep, of doing the same thing, rinse and repeat, cycle after cycle, block after block. And now it's a completely different set of weeks with your volume and intensity sliding into race day. Again, for this 1-day performance, for this showcase of how much work you've put in the past few months. So the taper, I have even videos on taper because it's such an important topic. So we're gonna smash through it real quick right here. Is, again, trusting the process. Yeah, coach, I get it. Trust the process. But it's a deliberate reduction in training volume. We have to reduce the volume. Remember, adaptation and fitness growth does not happen within the workout. It's after the layers and layers of fatigue. Your body will then adjust with proper rest to be able to handle that and perform better than it did while you were out there on those workouts. So if we're not going to give the body the ability to adapt and slide into race day and be able to build itself back for a one-time, awesome breakthrough performance, and we do too much, it's not going to bode very, very well for you. So we want to start sticking to some easier runs, like 60 to 70% of effort, where we just want to keep the legs fresh. But that doesn't mean we're shutting it down entirely. We're still going to put in some very short race pace tempo intervals in there. We want the legs to stay snappy. We want to have some spring in those muscles still. We don't want them to just kind of become a rubber band and become way too loose. We do want some tension in the body right there, but we do want to reduce the amount of fatigue. We definitely want to avoid any new workouts. I'm not going to throw anything at these athletes that they haven't been doing, any of these crazy workouts, because they're getting bored. And then now this time though too is because you may start to realize a increased amount of energy, is it's not the best time to start taking on all these other projects in your life that are going to be physically demanding. Or, hey, I got some time, I'm going to get back to the gym and start doing some strength training. I haven't deadlifted in a while, I want to go do some deadlifting. Wait. Just wait on all that. You really need to rest. Now's not the time to repaint your whole house, sand your floors down, do 8 hours of yard work on what would have been your long run day. That is just not going to be very good for you. You can do all that after you cross the finish line. And it's also, you just don't want to overtrain through this. You don't want to squeeze in one more long run. You don't want to get out there and push too much, and you don't want to get out there and go do extra intervals because you're like, oh, just short workout today, 40 minutes. Nah, I'm just going to run for an hour. I'm going to do a couple more intervals than I'm supposed to do. You just want to be able to get out there, get it done, but be able to recover and then be able to adapt and just grow a little bit more You just want to be able to grow. You want to adapt. You want the body to just start healing itself and get prepared for this one time, this one-off performance, because that's what it is. We're not doing this in training. We don't want it. That's why we don't overrun our long runs. We're saving that. You should feel motivated. You should still have some energy left after these runs, because we don't want to totally obliterate ourselves. We don't want to feel like we just finished a marathon and every long run that we do as we go through here. And then going forward here, we're talking about mental prep. We got this mindset shift. We have to break the race into some segments. We have to, and now this is going to be different for certain people, but you can say, all right, and it helps to maybe make some notes, write these things down, like your first 10K, then miles 7 through 20. So the first 10K should just be boredom. Like, and again, I don't want to get into too much of this because I have a whole pacing talk on this. I don't want to, confuse the coached athletes when they hear this, but this is just for the people that follow along. Break it down. Be bored that first 10K. Then that 7 through 20, that's the bulk of it. Continue to fuel, continue to feel good, settling into your marathon pace for the day, and then make it to mile 20. Make it strong. You know what? Mile 20, dedicate that mile to somebody. Dedicate it to somebody who's been a part of the journey, or somebody who, you just want to have like, hey, when I hit mile 20, I'm thinking about this, and that's going to motivate you. And then that's going to give you that push past mile 20. And then you have a 10K to go, and you can crush and cross that finish line. Just replace all that, like, oh, this is tough, this is terrible, this is all this. Just replace that I'm tired that you're going to have in your head with I'm trained for this. It's a privilege to feel that at mile 20. It's a privilege to be out there with these tens of thousands of people on that race course, to be able to showcase all that hard work that you've put in over that time. Like, there's something to be said for that. So really lean into that. Tell people out there, encourage them, encourage how they're doing. Say, you're looking great out there. You're probably going to eventually run into like a same pace group where you're going to have the same people all day. Encourage each other. When that person is feeling down, encourage them, because when you're feeling down, you hope that they encourage you back. So that positive self-talk out there, take all that out, because I hate to be the bearer of bad news on the marathon. Yeah, it kind of sucks. If you race or run a marathon, it's going to suck at some point. But it's that how we can handle and push through that and fight through it mentally, because our mind will usually give up before our body wants to give up. It's this self-preservation that our body and mind goes through, where it says, hey, your body just sent the signal where it's like, this is getting hard. And then your mind overcomes it and says, hey, yeah, we should start shutting some things down. We should start slowing down a little bit. So if you can just delay that a little bit and keep pushing forward out there, you're going to inevitably have a breakthrough performance and push through right there with that. And then obviously you're going to have, again, hitting that wall. At some point during the marathon, it's very rare that you run start to finish and you are just like, I felt great from start to finish. Well, chances are maybe we just didn't run at our peak ability, and that's fine. Maybe we were just setting a new standard, shooting for that PR, and we just didn't want to blow up out there. But you are going to have this glycogen depletion. It is almost impossible if you're really running a marathon to compensate for the amount that you're losing. So that's why it's very important to take in as much as we have. You're inevitably going to have mental fatigue. The mind is just going to start to slow down. You're just going to take things in a little bit slower, especially as your glycogen levels start to deplete a little bit like that. And then going forward, race week. Like, start thinking about all these things, write all these things. How am I going to handle when I hit this wall? How am I going to have these mindset strategies? Writing all these things down. I encourage you to take some notes right there. Write down what your intentions are for race week. I want to sleep well. I want to eat certain foods. Write down the foods you do want to eat that week. Avoid obsessing over the weather. The weather is something we can't control. It's raining out right now. If you were racing today, it is what it is. Like, if it says it's going to rain, hey, just plan for a wet, rainy race. It is what it is. And then if you're running with headphones, start setting up a nice playlist. Start setting up how you want it to go. You can even, if you know you're running a 4-hour marathon, set your playlist up with 4+ hours of music, something that's going to kind of like ease you into the day for that first 10K, and then have a good, nice mix between miles 7 through 20, and then have like a really kick-ass playlist for that last 10K. And then you'll just be able to flow through it. And that's kind of like how you're going to go and how you're going to perform with that. So these are things too that can also take your mind off that taper crazy. It can take your mind off of just thinking about the race days. If you have all this planned out, it'll just feel like you've done the race before. It'll just feel like you've done this before. It'll feel like, you've prepared for this, you're ready for this, and you won't have any issues with that. A big question I have with, and we'll touch on it right now because I just put this part in the notes right here, is I'm starting to come up with pacing plans for a lot of the athletes right now. And this is just common knowledge, but maybe not for some people is I have zones for all the athletes. We talk about threshold all year. We're talking about running above threshold faster for intervals and how we should stay away on easy runs, and they understand what threshold is. Threshold is basically that level that you can run for basically an hour without the body really blowing up on itself. It's that max effort for an hour. So obviously we're not going to be running a marathon at threshold pace. No way. It is going to be a sliding scale though for the percentage of threshold on that pace for beginner runners, intermediate runners, and then some expert runners. Mainly because if you look at the times that you're going to be out there, the body can handle that a little differently. If you're an advanced runner that's going to be sub 3:30, you're going to be out there for 3 hours to 3 hours, 30 minutes. So you can run at that 90 plus, 93, 94, 95% of your threshold pace. If you're intermediate, like that 3:30 to 4:30 group, the basically like a big majority of age groupers out there, we do have to tone it down more because it's becoming a longer event. The body's going to be out there longer. We don't want to blow up too soon. So that 90 to 92% range we start to look at. And if we're a beginner, maybe looking to check the box the first time in the marathon distance, or where that 4:30 plus group that's out there, you're going to bring that down a little bit because it's going to be a much longer day and you're probably going to be somewhere below 90% threshold pace. And a question I get from a lot of coached athletes is, we'll be talking about pacing because I'll tell you in a second and then they say, at what heart rate should I be looking at? Well, this is why I really hone in on early on in training, early on in the year, making sure that athletes, if they really want appropriate data, are wearing that external heart rate strap, that arm strap or that chest strap that can give me, the coach, exceptional heart rate data that I can look at through your runs. If you've been using your wrist-based optical sensor on your watch and you haven't been diligent with bringing this information in, we really can't use it on race day. We can't trust your watch and its inconsistency, because if it starts giving you wrong readings out there, whether high or low, you're going to think that you can either go faster or you're going to come back because it's reading a wrong higher heart rate out there. So that is a layer that really, if you're looking to get your most optimal performance out of endurance and running especially, we need to have that external heart rate strap. We need to have that data coming in. And that's why I do go by threshold run pace with most of my athletes, is just because GPS is GPS. Like, we can at least get in the area that we need to be in. It takes out the anomalies of the heart rate of that wrong bad data throughout our runs and our training. So that's why I always put pacing plans together by percentage of threshold run pace. If it's a very technical course, we're just going to have to come down in percentage, because inevitably at the same threshold percent on one course versus a technical course, your heart rate will be higher, and we just don't want to be in that zone of burning too many matches out there. So that's the pacing side of that. And now we're talking fueling and logistics here for the final weeks. Again, we've been making the list, we've been making the plans. Write down what you want to eat. You should hopefully have an idea ready from the long runs, what we did the night before, during the fueling of. Write out your exact fueling plan, mile for mile, whatever, how many miles if you're doing a gel every 3 miles, 4 miles, whatever it is. If you're doing encore support, write down what you are going to do so that you can just stick to it and check the boxes while you're going through out there. That will allow you to stay on point for the certain amount of grams per hour that you're shooting for on your carb side. And then on your hydration side as well, make sure you're getting the fluids in, make sure you're getting the electrolytes in, make sure you have an appropriate sodium intake, know what your sodium intake is per hour. If you're not doing these things or logging or tracking these things during training, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because you're not going to be able to reach your full potential out there. You're not going to reach your full ability out there on race day, because you're not going to be dialed in and precise with your fueling and your nutrition. So nail your logistics, write them down. And then as well, if you're traveling to this race, think about what you have to pack. Write down exactly what you're going to need for race day. Have that list available so that you can pack it the race week, so you're not forgetting anything. This will allow you to not forget your race bib belt or your pins or whatever items you might need, or your belt to hold your phone, whatever it is. You're just not going to forget these things on race day, because you're going to have that list. You're going to have it all ready to go, and you're going to be set and ready to roll. Basically, again, visualization in your head, you'll have run this race so many times. You'll have from start to finish, just understand like, yep, this is my pace plan. This is my fueling plan. This is what I'm going to use for on course, for the on course support. And this is exactly how I see the day unfolding from the minute I wake up, what I'm eating for breakfast, what time I got to be to the start line, what time my wave starts, and then my pacing plan as I go. And then, of course, don't forget, think about what you want to do afterwards, because that will help your recovery. It's nice sometimes to just say, oh, fall down on the floor and not worry about things the rest of the day, but really start to get back on your hydration, really get a well-balanced meal in afterwards. I know it's tempting to just go out there and smash whatever you can, eat that big pizza. You can do it, you deserve it, but just keep hydrating and then continue on and then start that recovery protocol so that you feel good 24, 48 hours later. The hard work is done. And that's the takeaway here. The hard work is done. You've put in all of the sessions, you've put in the long runs, you've put in all the things we want to do. Now it's planning time. And that's why I don't like to get involved with a lot of the planning or pace talk too soon, because I want to see where we're at. Because there's some athletes who had a couple long runs. Second one went better than the first one. Maybe the second one didn't go as good as the first one because due to some fatigue, or there was something rearing its ugly head up, some type of overuse or strain that popped up that didn't allow them to run their last long run. So that is all going to play a factor in how we talk about our final pacing plans for the race out there. So taper smart, prep mentally, fuel right, trust your training. 26.2 mile victory lap is coming your way. If you've built the engine, now it's time to just let it roar on race day. You've put the hay in the barn. We're going to light the whole barn on fire on race day. Whatever quote you want to go with it, just know that we've done it. We've stacked as many things as we can. We've put as many bricks on the wall as we can at this point. And now it's just a part of sliding down the scale, staying sharp, keeping the fitness high, and being able to just let it all go on race day. Real quick, again, that's what it was all about tonight, was just prepping and the takeaways for a great marathon, some mental tips on just how to break it all down. And then everything after that is kind of individualized. Pacing plans, fueling plans, and everything like that is by the athlete. But this was for the masses. This was for everybody out there that has an impending marathon coming up. And be grateful. Be grateful when you're out there. Be grateful when it hurts. Be grateful that you have the ability to be out there and feel that pain when it starts to come on out there, and push through those walls, push through those mental roadblocks, and have yourself a breakthrough performance. So everybody, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in on this one. I think it was fun to just throw some ideas out there about the marathon distance. Can't wait to recap and have some of these pre-race calls with everybody, and then do the race recaps afterwards and see how it all falls on race day. Let's pray for good weather. Let's, again, control the controllables. Let's hope everything, shows up on your marathon. Everything goes according to plan, and we have a magical day out there. So I want everybody just to stay safe, stay healthy, keep balancing life 1 mile at a time, and I'll catch you all on the next one.